Dear colleagues, I'm Christoph Diener from the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Duisburg-Essen in Germany. And this month I found 5 interesting studies which were published in April 2024. Let me start with Parkinson's disease. We have reasonably good therapy in terms of drugs, deep brain stimulation, but we still do not have effective neuroprotective therapy. Now, there is a new group of substances, the so-called glucagon-like peptide-1 receptor agonists, GLP-1 agonists. And these are small molecules which show to be effective in the treatment of diabetes and obesity. And preclinical models have shown that these drugs also have inflammatory properties and they are neuroprotective in animal experiments. Now, this is a new study with lixisenatide in early Parkinson's disease published in the New England Journal of Medicine. This study, as usually double-blind, placebo-controlled, in Parkinson's disease under stable dopaminergic therapy with daily subcutaneous lixisenatide or placebo for 12 months. 156 patients. After 12 months, there was no deterioration in the MDS-UPDRS Part 3 scale on Verum, but there was a decline by 3 points in the placebo group. Admittedly, this is a small difference. The secondary endpoints in this study did not show a difference. There were significant problems with tolerability. Almost 50% of patients complained of nausea and vomiting, and 1/3 had to reduce the dose of lixisenatide due to adverse events. This is an interesting observation because this rate of nausea and vomiting has not been observed in patients with diabetes. However, there was another study with pegylated exenatide, the NLY-01 study, which was negative. In this study, however, the patients were not treated with dopaminergic drugs. So what we finally need now is a large-scale long-term study with GLP-1 agonists to see whether they are neuroprotective in patients with early Parkinson's disease. The second approach are antibodies against aggregated alpha-synuclein, and prasinezumab is one of these drugs. The target group, again, is treatment of early Parkinson's disease. And the initial Pasadena study failed the primary endpoint, which was MDS-UPDRS Part 1, 2, and 3. Now, this study recruited 316 patients with early-stage Parkinson's disease and used 2 doses of the monoclonal antibody compared to placebo every 4 weeks. Now, in Nature Medicine, the investigators published a subgroup analysis. They looked at overall 10 different subgroups, and they identified one subgroup which seems to benefit from this monoclonal antibody, and these are patients with rapidly progressive disease. And this also means that we most probably need now a large-scale study with this monoclonal antibody in patients with initial Parkinson's disease and rapid progression. Now, my third topic is the neurosurgical treatment of intracerebral hemorrhage. And this has been a disaster until now because all the studies that have been done were negative, or neurosurgery was not superior to best medical treatment. Now, obviously, we have a new effective treatment. The New England Journal of Medicine published the ENRICH study, which was done in 300 patients, and the neurosurgeons used minimally invasive neurosurgical procedures. They randomized 300 patients. The majority of them had a lobar hemorrhage, and it turned out that in lobar hemorrhage, this method is effective, both in terms of functional outcome measured with modified Rankin scale, but also with a significant decrease in mortality from 18% in the control group to 9% in the neurosurgical group. And this is dramatic because for the first time, a new neurosurgical procedure has shown efficacy in lobar hemorrhage. Now let me move to muscular dystrophy. There is the facioscapulohumeral muscular dystrophy. This is a hereditary disease caused by abnormal expression of the transcription factor DUX4 in skeletal muscles. And losmapimod is a small molecule that inhibits p38 alpha MAPK, which is important for the inhibition of DUX4. It is a small randomized study in 80 patients with this form of muscular dystrophy treated over 48 weeks and published in Lancet Neurology. The primary endpoint, which was DUX4 gene expression, was not affected. However, there was a reduction in fatty infiltration in the muscle and the global impression of the patients. Here too, we need larger studies. And my final topic is the prevention of episodic migraine via the CGRP pathway. We have two approaches now for the prevention of migraine. One is monoclonal antibodies against CGRP or the CGRP receptor, which are injected. And then we have oral drugs, small molecules, which work directly on the CGRP receptor. And atogepant is one of these drugs and has shown efficacy in the prevention of episodic and chronic migraine. Now, for reimbursement purposes, companies have to show that these new drugs are also effective in people who failed prior oral therapies. And this study, the ELEVATE study published in Lancet Neurology, recruited patients, 313, who failed 2 to 4 oral migraine preventive therapies in the past. The primary endpoint was the reduction in monthly migraine days, and this was significantly higher with minus 4.2 days for atogepant compared to 1.9 days with placebo. Atogepant is very well tolerated. There are some issues with constipation and nausea, but otherwise no major problems with side effects. And I think now we have for all of these new migraine preventive drugs evidence that they work in patients who failed, for example, beta blockers, flunarizine, topiramate, amitriptyline, you name it. And I think this is an important study to get reimbursement for this drug in particular in Europe. Dear colleagues, 5 studies from 4 different areas in neurology, all published in April 2024. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I'm Christoph Diener from the Medical Faculty of the University of Duisburg-Essen.